Live from the Scripps Studios, this is 10 News.
An historic sell-off on Wall Street and now fears for another rough day on the market tomorrow. Analysts are pointing to the coronavirus as the cause of all of this uncertainty. Good evening. I'm Steve Atkinson.
And I'm Lindsay Pena in for Kimberly Hunt. Our 10 News reporter Matt Boone joins us now, and he's got some insight from a recent retiree as well as a wealth manager about handling this situation.
Well, the question is, are we in some sort of a correction here, or is this going to turn into a bear market with a prolonged downturn? That's, of course, hard to predict. So what to do with your money depends on your long-term financial goals.
There are mornings I wake up and I think, was it the right decision? And then other mornings I definitely know it was the right decision.
Malcolm Getman is talking about his retirement last year. He says the sudden drop in the stock market this week is concerning, but he's moved most of his investments to secure government bonds. Moving it into a secure fund like that, it gave me that liquidity that I needed and allowed me to know that the market could go up and down like a yo-yo and it would have zero effect on me. And yo-yo it has. Today the Dow plunging nearly 1,200 points. And as fear of the coronavirus's effect on global financial markets deepens, Getman says he's heard from friends and colleagues nearing retirement. There's a degree of panic that's has set in. For people within 5 years of retirement, wealth manager Jody Vleck hopes they've already protected themselves.
We have clients that are near retirement that go, I want to make these returns that the stock market gives. And we're on the other side saying, well, but one thing to remember is you can't afford that downside risk because you're drawing on it. So far, she says her clients are not panicking. So I can tell you that I've not had one client at our firm call and ask to sell. At least not yet, though she says it's possible the effects could soon go beyond the stock market. One of the major aspects of San Diego is our tourism. And if that comes to a lockdown, it could have an impact here locally.
Yeah, that could be huge. And Jody says, based on futures for tomorrow, she says it could be another day like today. Matt Boone, 10 News.
Matt, thank you. The World Health Organization says the coronavirus has the potential to become a pandemic. And here are the latest numbers. The death toll is over 2,800 worldwide, with the majority still in mainland China. There have been more than 82,000 global cases in every continent except Antarctica. 60 of them are here in the U.S.
California has had 33 confirmed cases of coronavirus, but a state health official says the risk to the public remains low.
But I want Californians to know that we have rigorously planned for this public health event.
The CDC says a new case of coronavirus has been detected in Northern California in a woman who has not traveled overseas since the outbreak began. This suggests the virus could be spreading locally, person to person. It is unknown how the woman contracted it. Another 8,400 people in California are being monitored for possible exposure. But Governor Gavin Newsom says the state only has 200 testing kits and is working with the CDC to get more. ABC's Alex Perche has the latest.
The search is on in California to determine if the new coronavirus is spreading through this community. Authorities trying to find everyone who came in contact with a Solano County woman after she tested positive.
They're contacting any individuals who might have been exposed and they're isolating them.
Her case is believed to be the first spread through her community. The problem, since she has not traveled to any hot zones and does not know anyone affected, even after being placed on a ventilator at a local hospital, she was not tested for 4 days after showing symptoms.
We do want to nonetheless reassure our community members that the health risk for acquiring coronavirus here in Solano County remains very, very low.
But experts say valuable time has been lost. In Washington, Vice President Pence is now in charge of the administration's coronavirus response, and he is moving to control what information gets to the public. According to senior White House sources, all statements about coronavirus from the CDC or the health department must now be vetted by the vice president's office. The CDC has warned that novel coronavirus will spread, saying it's not a matter of if, but when.
I think the good news here is that these are just general, let's err on the side of caution, warnings or recommendations at this point.
Back in Solano County, health officials have already declared a local emergency.
We have also, in order to allow us to investigate this incident more effectively and more efficiently, have declared a local public health emergency here in the county.
Alex Perche, ABC News, Washington.
San Diego State is canceling its study abroad program to South Korea because of coronavirus. The university says it's canceling the program for the spring semester and is calling back students currently in South Korea. SDSU's study abroad program in China was already canceled, and it's keeping an eye on its programs in Italy, Japan, and Iran. Meantime, San Diego County's health lab can now test for coronavirus. That means specimens won't have to be sent elsewhere, which will drastically reduce the time it takes to get results. And you can follow any developments in the coronavirus outbreak by downloading our free mobile app. Just go to the App Store and search 10 News.
All right, here's some breaking news in Santee, where a massive geyser briefly flooded Town Center Parkway. Our photojournalist Paul Anderegg is live in our 10 News breaking news tracker with an update. Paul, it did turn the street into a river at one point.
Yeah, it was. Not as bad as Houston if you've seen the coverage on that yet, but you can see the road's still a little wet. Let's show you what it looked like about 15 minutes ago, right before they turned it off. Now, this geyser was shooting probably 40 to 50 feet into the air. The fire department wasn't able to find the shutoff valve for it for quite some time, just because it was under probably 5 inches of water. It took a little bit of work for them to find it. They found it, and they were able to shut it down. This was caused by a tractor trailer, making a turn a little too tight. He took out that hydrant, and he stopped, returned to the scene. So it's all cleaned up here now. They're about to open up the road, so shouldn't be any problem if you have to head through this area. We're bringing more on 10 News this morning.
All right, Paul, thank you. New details tonight on the brush fire that broke out in a riverbed in Mission Valley. Crews on scene believe that this was started by a homeless encampment. That small blaze was reported just after 6 o'clock tonight. This is in the riverbed between Friars Road and Hotel Circle North. Crews say that hydrant locations and tall brush made it difficult to put out those flames. That fire only grew to about half an acre and no structures were damaged.
A Wisconsin community is coming to grips with a shooting that left 5 people dead at a Milwaukee landmark. Today, police identified the shooter as 51-year-old Anthony Farrell. He was an active employee at the Molson Coors Brewery. Tuesday afternoon, Farrell returned to the office with a gun and opened fire on his co-workers. He then turned the gun on himself.
Importantly, they were husbands, they were fathers, and they were friends.
An employee told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that Farrell would frequently argue with one of the people he fatally shot. The FBI and ATF are on scene to assist with the investigation. They have still not commented on the shooter's motive.
A Poway man accused of killing his sleeping neighbor with a stray bullet will now stand trial. Investigators say that Manula Suve fired his gun during an argument with his brother over a cell phone charger. Well, the bullet went through a shared wall and hit Michael Walker, who was asleep on the other side in his home. That stray bullet hit Walker in the middle of his body. His wife rushed him to the hospital, where he later died.
Obviously, it's clear the defendant didn't specifically intend to kill Mr. Walker, who was sleeping on the other side of the door, but it's the people's position that there has been more than sufficient evidence of implied malice in this case.
Suve faces 4 felony charges, including murder. If convicted, he could spend life in prison.
A controversial statue in the South Bay is one step closer to coming down. A city advisory group has recommended Chula Vista city leaders remove this statue of Christopher Columbus. 10 News reporter Anthony Pura is in Chula Vista, and this decision comes after a bitter community debate.
This statue of Christopher Columbus has brought on strong reactions from various community groups. It stood here for nearly 3 decades, but it's unclear if it'll stay here much longer.
That motion passes unanimously.
A unanimous decision by Chula Vista's Human Relations Commission that the image of Christopher Columbus does not have a place in the community.
We're not trying to rewrite history. What we're doing is acknowledging that there was a wrong and that we have every intent to make it right moving forward.
Vandals have targeted the statue in the past. The latest was Columbus Day, when someone defaced it with red paint. The recommendation by the HRC involves more than just taking down the statue. It also involves renaming Discovery Park and changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day in Chula Vista. Many called it a step in the right direction for the community, saying Columbus celebrates a dark and painful history.
He is a symbol of hate. He's a symbol of genocide. I think that in school we glorify him, and it's disgusting, frankly.
Others argued bitterly to keep the statue where it is and felt the commission is setting a dangerous precedent.
What's next? What's going to be next? Are we going to go down the slippery slope of tearing down anything? You can't go around tearing down our history. It is what it is.
The proposal will now go to the City Council. It's unclear when they will take on the issue. In Chula Vista, Anthony Pura, 10 News.
Your voice, your vote. There are 2 days left until the South Carolina primary gets underway. It's what many are considering a do or die state for former Vice President Joe Biden. He is currently leading the polls and is hoping to use the boost in the Democratic race. Meantime, Bernie Sanders has climbed into the top of the polls nationally, but with the momentum also has come an onslaught of attacks.
All those people who say Bernie can't beat Trump, take a look at the last 50 national polls. Bernie beats them 47 out of 50.
Part of this event because I think this
The candidates are now moving their focus to Super Tuesday states. Former Mayor Pete Buttigieg will be in the South Bay on Monday ahead of the March 3rd primary hearing.
And one of the major Democratic candidates for president is holding a fundraiser and rally in the South Bay, as Steve just said, just ahead of the California primary on Tuesday. Mayor Pete Buttigieg is scheduled for a rally in Chula Vista, but the details, including the specific location of where it will be held, haven't been released. Buttigieg won the Iowa caucuses and also claimed delegates in the New Hampshire primary. Right now, no other candidates are scheduled to stop in San Diego before Tuesday.
And 10news.com and the 10 News mobile app are your sources for complete election coverage of all the important races. All you have to do is click on your Voice Your Vote section on the homepage. There, you're going to find unique stories, exclusive scientific polls, and interviews with the candidates.
And 10 News will have complete coverage of the primary on Tuesday, beginning on 10 News at 4. World News at 4:30, followed by ABC News Super Tuesday coverage from 5 to 11. 10 News will be live on all your favorite streaming devices with our local election special from 8 to 11. And we'll have a complete wrap-up of all the important races on 10 News at 11.